Hello. Hello, beautiful friends. We're back. We are back for a very hot and sweaty episode. It is the fifth heat wave that we're having here in the UK. So, my British brothers and sisters can sympathize with how this feels. And if you're pregnant like me in the heat wave, you will also double sympathize with what this is like. Anyway, welcome back to the Meat Monogamy podcast. It is another great episode ahead. It is your girl, Liv. I am Olivia Lara Owen, and I am here to host you today, your podcast host. And I have been teaching, guiding, mentoring for the last 10 years. I have been immersed in the world of transformation for 15 years. And I have been through many phases of reinvention. And the Meat and Monogamy podcast is really this beautiful home to serve as an ode to my work, past and present. We are going to be speaking about things that you may have heard me speak about before. But this podcast is really for the ladies. It's really for the ladies. This is for the women that know and want to access sustainable power in a way that nourishes you, transforms you, and ultimately gives you the life that you actually want. Not the life that you think you're supposed to want, but the life that you actually want. Okay, this is my jam. This is what I'm great at. This is what I love riffing on. And here we are today in this heat wave. And I have so much to say, and I really hope that I can get through it all without needing to stop because I'm so fucking hot. Okay, yes. I can't have the fan on because it's one of those loud fans, and so it will completely muck up the sound in my studio today. So I love you, and I'm persevering because I think you need to hear this. All right. So first of all, thank you to everybody that listened to last week's episode on Desire 2.0. I got a lot of messages, probably the most messages I've ever received about a podcast episode. So that's a great sign. It means it's hit a nerve. It's resonating. So thank you for messaging me, emailing me, DMing me about it. It really seemed like this piece around stewardship is really landing, and great for you because we are going to talk more about that today. Today's episode is going to be all on stewardship and what happens after you get what you wanted. What happens after you get what you wanted? Okay, so yeah, just taking a breath here before we start today's marathon. Okay, so I knew last week when I was recording Desire 2.0 that there was like something quite potent in it. And as I said last week, I had wanted to talk about this for ages, and it's just, I'm an emergent person with my work. I let things emerge when they are ripe and ready. We work with the seasons of nature over here. And I knew when I was recording that there was just something really powerful in this. And I felt like I was really putting language to something that it's been changing in me personally and in my work for quite a long time. And I was sort of somewhat surprised, but also not that surprised that actually the particular word that seemed to resonate with you was stewardship. And I also found that, that funny because stewardship is not a sexy word, and it's fascinating, isn't it? Because stewardship is, it's different. We hear a lot about desire, manifestation, expansion, calling things in, creating the life you want. But stewardship's a little different. Like we don't really hear it as much. And yet so many of you heard that word and you were like, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. Like that's what I'm learning right now. Or that's what I want to learn more of. Right. So today I want to go deeper into that. And I've realized that, there are seasons of life where the work is about asking, what do I want? We're not discounting the potency of that question. What do I want? And that can be used on a daily basis. And it can be so life-changing to even consider that question. I have seen it change so many women's lives to even have that in the toolkit of like, what? I'm allowed to want? Like, what? Like, what? Like, what? Yes, you're allowed to want, right? So what do I want? Powerful question. And then there are other times in life when life is asking us, like, how well am I caring for what I already have? And I really think that those are two very, very different forms of growth. So let's get into it. All right, strap in. Okay, so much of like personal development, right, just loves to focus on the acquisition. So we're very good at talking about getting. Relationship, money, business, home, baby, boyfriend, career, an audience, we just, the list goes on, community, all the stuff. Like, we're very good at focusing on that. Like, how much time do you spend on focusing on acquisition, right? And we have endless conversations around how to create them, and less, I would say much less, about what happens afterwards, right? So we're very interested in this getting business, getting, right? How do I get the relationship? How do I get the baby? How do I make the money? How do I create the freedom that I want? How do I find my purpose? And I get why. I completely get why. And I've asked myself all of those questions many times over. Like, wanting something is exciting. There's possibility, there's movement, there's anticipation. Like, it has like movement energy. We like movement energy because movement energy actually creates movement in our lives. Plus, we are constantly being sold like getting, right? Like, we're constantly being sold that we need to get things and get somewhere. And if we do and we don't, it means X or Y. So we're very, very programmed to get, right? Very programmed to get. But there's nothing wrong with getting. Nothing wrong with it. Like, nope, nothing wrong. Like, obviously, your relationship with getting can be examined. And that's definitely something when I teach Desire 1.0 is really looking at your relationship to your desire, and not just prioritizing desire because you just want loads of things, but actually really examining, like, do you have a humble relationship to your desire, right? That is a big thing that I teach. Like, are you actually surrendered to not being attached to the getting, even though you want, right? Anyway, that's a different conversation. But what happens when you actually get the thing? Because it does happen. And I'm sure you've all experienced this, right? You wanted the business. Now you've got clients that depend on you. You wanted the relationship. Now there's a human being whose needs and desires exist alongside yours. It's no longer just about you. You wanted the house. And now there's this big old kitchen that needs fixing, and the bathroom's leaking, and it needs cleaning, and the bills need paying, and it's responsibility, right? You wanted community. You wanted friendships, and now you have to participate in those friendships and show up for your friends, because that's what friendship is. It's a two-way relationship. You wanted to have a child, right? And now there's an actual human life to care for. And many of these things are beautiful things, right? What we desire eventually are things we become responsible for. Like, that is how this works. And I don't mean this in like this joyless way. It's like, the thing I said mattered to me is now asking something of me, right? And so many of you get so victimized by this, right? The thing you said mattered to you is now asking something of you. That is stewardship. Okay? That is stewardship. Okay. Taking a nice cold sip of my water. Right. So what does stewardship actually mean, right? This is interesting because when I use the words stewardship, I'm not talking about becoming like really boring and sensible and responsible and spending the rest of your life doing admin. Like, I hate to break it to you, but there will be a load of admin. Tons of fucking life admin. Yeah, I've just wrapped up. I left France 2 years ago. I've just wrapped up the French admin of moving countries and changing business structures. And woo, 2 years. Oh, shoot me. It was painful. Plus, being there for 5 years and then, or 4 years, I think it was 4 years, that You have to set everything up when you get there, and then you live there, and then you have to it just is a lot. Anyone that knows who's like immigrated back and forth, round and round, knows that it's tons of work. And same with businesses and doing businesses legally and efficiently. You have admin and shit to take care of. Operations, ops are important, friends. Life ops. We can't avoid the admin of life. But the thing I'm speaking about with stewardship is more beautiful than just like the boring parts. Like, I want to really land this because it is so beautiful. And it's really about caring well for what matters to you, right? So it's a recognition. It's recognizing that this relationship matters to me. So I'm going to take care of it. Like, my body matters to me. This work that I'm doing matters to me. This home that I live in matters to me. These friendships matter to me. Like, these things matter to me, right? Money that I have earned matters to me. I'm going to steward it and take care of it. The creative gift that I have matters to me. I'm going to use it, right? And therefore, I participate in their care. Care is a very high value for me. I care deeply. I care deeply about people. And so I care deeply about my clients. I care deeply about the experiences that they're having. I care deeply about my impact. I care about myself. I care about the people in my life, right? I care about things. Okay. And it's very different from just simple old maintenance. Like, maintenance feels like, some maintenance is important, right? Sometimes we have to just keep going because we have to, right? But stewardship has devotion at the center of it. And that's what I think makes it different. And that's why I think it actually makes it very beautiful. Like, I care for this because I love it, right? So, and sometimes love looks so ordinary. And this is so true for like long-term relationships, like being a mundane, normal relationship. Like, there's a ton of ordinary, boring stuff. Like, can you love that part? Like, a lot of people can struggle because they're like, I need sexy and exciting. Where is sexy and exciting? It's not at home. I'm going to go and find it, right? But actually, there's so much power in loving what's ordinary and loving what's in front of you. Okay. So, sometimes love looks like doing the washing, and sometimes love looks like looking at your bank account, like having a look, taking a look at your numbers and not being afraid. Sometimes it looks like really having that uncomfortable conversation, bringing stuff up that is going to make the relationship better, and you're scared to do it, but you love yourself and the other person, so you're going to have that conversation. Sometimes love looks like going to bed. Sometimes you just need to go to bed. Like, what are you doing? Go to bed. Why are you still up? Maybe someone's listening to this late at night. Go to bed. Listen to the rest of this tomorrow. Or maybe not. Maybe you're loving it so much, right? Sometimes love looks like saying no. Like, nope. Yep, that's a no for me, right? Sometimes love looks like keeping promises to yourself, like you made 3 months ago, like, or maybe you made it to somebody else, and like maybe something shinier popped in. You kind of made a promise, and I'm not saying abandon yourself to keep a promise, but like, really, like, if you love the relationship, like, do you need to do something better because something better came along, or could you honor the commitment you made, right? There's something incredibly grown up and mature about that kind of love. One of my favorite things to do is, I don't know what they're called, but my partner loves to drink his coffee like, they're called, you put it on the stove, and you put like water in the bottom, and then you put the coffee granules in the middle, and then it like boils up. Yeah, I don't like it because I find that it can kind of burn the coffee. I don't really love the taste. I think it's an Italian method. Please correct me if I've got that wrong. But anyway, he has, a couple of those in the morning, and I love at night, if I'm like, resetting the kitchen, I love like cleaning it out. So it's like all ready to go fresh. Like, he would never clean it out himself. But I just love that little act of love. So like, someone comes in, they want to make their coffee, and they don't have to clean yesterday's granules. They can just like help themselves. Like, little things, right? That's like caring, like these small ways of caring, the small ways of being thoughtful and caring towards something, right? So desire speaks in the language of I want this, and then stewardship says I will care for this. And I think this is really where, like, we recognize that these are different questions. And so, I can desire a beautiful relationship, but am I really ready to participate in one? Right? Am I willing to communicate, to repair, to compromise, to listen, allow another person's needs to matter? Like, can I like make actual space for the other human, not like my preference of that human being a specific person and way, but the actual human in front of you? Like, can you care for that person even when they're different to you and they're like doing things you don't like and it's uncomfortable and intimate, right, and messy and human? Like, can you participate in that? Right? A lot of people desire a successful business, right? But are you willing to lead it? Right? Ask yourself this question: am I willing to lead it? Am I willing to look at my finances? Am I willing to serve my clients? Am I willing to make decisions? Am I willing to create when I really don't particularly feel like it? I don't really fancy creating today, but like, that's a successful business requires tending, nurturing, stewardship, participation. I can desire a gorgeous home, right? But am I willing to inhabit it, maintain it, tend to it, create the rhythm inside of it, be present inside of the home, right? I can desire intimacy and friendships. This is a big one. Like, people come to me a lot, like wanting to work on friendships and like really develop and deepen your relationships with friends. But are you willing to send the message? Are you willing to make the plan? Are you willing to show up? And like, are you willing to pay attention and remember what's happening in someone else's life, right? To be present for them, right? Like, desire is so incredibly powerful, but desire alone cannot sustain the things it creates. Like, desire is ignition. It ignites, it initiates something into existence. And the stewardship is what sustains it, right? That is what sustains it. And I think, like, one is not more important than the other, but we do need both, right? We do need both. And as I'm speaking, I have my hands on my belly. And I will just say this week that we found out that we're having a baby girl. And I think it was maybe the best day of my life finding that out. Like, it was so beautiful, like, to be like, there's a daughter inside of me. It's so mad. But anyway, as I'm speaking about this and I have my hands, I can feel her wriggling around, right? I'm like, baby girl likes this, right? And what a beautiful way for me as her mother to teach her this, right? Like, teach her about and teach her through my own stewardship of her life. Like, is sort of how I see motherhood and parenting. Like, we're stewarding ourselves, we're stewarding others. We're not owning. Like, I'm not going to own my child. I'm going to steward my child lovingly and caringly, right? I desired a family. I desired this child. I desired this baby. That was the initiation of this journey. But the stewardship of her life is going to be what sustains our relationship and sustains her, right? Especially in those really precious, dependent years of a child's life, right? And so, I just had to share that because I'm just, and like, I really notice like what she responds to. And I love that she's hearing all of this, how beautiful that she's hearing all of this as I share this with you. Okay. So just carrying on with a little personal thread here. So I have been thinking about this a lot because, it's really like, in my own life, I can really see movement really clearly. And there was, and I'm sure there'll be again, chapters in my life where desire needed to be really loud. And maybe you relate to that. Like, have you had the experience where like desire is roaring and you're like, okay, I hear you, desire. Got it. Yeah, got it. Like, mine was like that when it was like, you need to leave France and move home because you want to have a family and you want to be near your family and your partner is there. And like, I was like, really? Okay. What do you mean? That's super inconvenient. What the fuck? Like, just no. But then, trusted that. And here I am. Like, look at me now, so glad I trusted that desire because look at its creation, right? So for me, there's been so many moments where I needed to learn to trust myself, or I needed to learn to follow what felt alive. And I needed I needed freedom. I needed adventure. I needed Paris. I needed to discover who I was outside of the structures that I'd inherited. And I'm sure you relate to this. Like, I have lived a really full life up until this point. Like, I really have done a lot of the things I've deeply desired to do, right? I really have. And it's actually powerful to say that out loud. Like, can you say that for yourself? Like, what have you created? Right? What have you done? Like, what have you created? And like, really honor that in yourself and really celebrate that in yourself. Like, I'm so grateful that I did those things. And I'm so grateful that I can own it and see it and be like, yes, that was so important. Right? The life I'm living today is asking something different. It's like a very distinct ask. Like, life is asking different things. Like, I'm in a partnership. I have to consider my partner. I've built a business, and my business looks so different to what it used to look like. And I used to have a much bigger business, and I used to serve many people at once. It was kind of one to many, many tiers and many different programs. And, many of you were part of that with me. And like, I know that lots of you loved it, and I loved it too. It was an amazing season. And I wouldn't be willing to sustain that at the moment. Like, maybe in the future that will come back. But at the moment, I love my one-to-one boutique business where I work with, 5, 6 women at a time. And I have a lot of spaciousness in my life. I can really serve those women deeply. Like, I can smash stewardship of this kind right now, right? So, I'm also preparing to become a mother. I'm thinking differently about home and family and money. It's all changing. And there are things in my life now that I desperately wanted at some time. Like, I remember the yearning for partnership and like, the gift of that yearning of like wanting to do life with someone and wanting to find like an aligned partner. And I remember the yearning for my family, and I remember the yearning to be a mother, and like just how deep that was and how vulnerable and tender that was. And now some of the things I wanted are in my life, and I am responsible for honoring that they require something from me, right? Pregnancy is requiring massive amounts of my energy, like huge, to grow this baby. Like, wow, pregnancy, what? I have no idea. Oh my God. Just so humbling. I'm like, oh my God, baby girl needs the world. Like, that's how it feels sometimes, right? And I'm sure those of you that have been pregnant know the demands, right? And I think like sometimes we can imagine that once we get what we want, it will be the end of the story, but it's not. Like, getting what you want is the beginning of a new story, of a new responsibility. It is the beginning, right? It is not the end of the story. In fact, it's the opening, right? It's the opening, right? And I mean responsibility in the most beautiful way. Like, I wanted love. Now the question is, well, how do I love well? I wanted meaningful work, right? And now it's like, well, how do I serve it well? I wanted a family. And now it's like, well, what kind of family culture do I want? Like, how do I want to help steward the family culture, right? And ultimately, I wanted a life that was mine, that belonged to me. And now the question is, how do I care for it, right? That life is here. I am tending, nurturing it. How do I care for it, right? How do I care for it? Okay. Ah, really enjoying this. Really enjoying this. But I am really hot. So I'm just going to take just a couple of breaths here because I want to just honor my body in this moment. Okay. And then a couple more things I want to bring in today. A couple more things. So I want to next bring in like around, this is a little bit more provocative, let's say, but this is about like where we get seduced by the next desire. Okay. So, God, is this one hard for me? And so many of us struggle with this, right? This is another edge. Like, I've been thinking about this a lot, really a lot, because in my like freedom era, this mattered less, but I think this is uncomfortable. So I'm really curious how this lands. So sometimes, drum roll, please. chasing the next desire is easier than tending to what we already have. Mm. Hands up if you're like someone that's just changing your business offers all the time, or you're just swapping partners out. You're always looking for the next trip, to like get away, right? The next idea can be really exciting. It can be, like, how does this look like? The next idea, the next big move, the next relationship, the next business offer, like, just the next version of ourselves, even. Like sometimes we can be really rushing to, yeah, be the next version of ourselves. And there's real energy and momentum in beginnings, big time. Stewardship is totally different. And it's like it asks for repetition, consistency, patience, repair, attention, like day after day, day after day. And it's not saying there's never a new desire and like a shift. And actually what I do a lot with my clients is, one-to-one at the moment through my containers, is I do a lot of work around like, well, things are actually really shifting and there is a new beginning, but there's often usually an ending happening, and there's often usually something that needs to be maintained. Okay. So, these principles of repetition, consistency, patience, repair, attention, these are big mama, big panny skills. These are big woman skills. And I think this is what I care the most about teaching, because it's so important. And I do sometimes think like whether our obsession with the next thing is because it just allows us to remain in constant possibility. And stewardship actually asks us to be here, right here, like with this life, with this relationship, with this body, with this business, this home, this particular bank account, this season, not the imaginary one, but like this one. And maybe there's a question in it, right? Like it's like, rather than asking, well, what else? What else do I want? What else do I want? And I'm not saying that's not a powerful question sometimes, because it is, especially for those of you that are maybe have been disconnected from your desire, or maybe a little malnourished, and like you don't really have much of what you want in your life. Like sometimes it can be a question of like, well, what else and what else and what else, right? That can be powerful. So I'm not discounting that. But I do think there's a question here around like what already exists in my life that is asking for more of my care. Like most of the time when I'm working with my clients, you have a lot going on. A lot going on. And sometimes the most powerful work is like really like reprioritizing what you're gonna grow and what you're gonna attend to, right? And I want to really emphasize here that like stewardship doesn't mean settling. It doesn't mean like you've got enough, you need to stop wanting things at all, right? There's a relationship between wanting and stewarding. Okay. I find that the more like stewardship skills you have in your life, the more fertile your life becomes. Like the more fertile the soil of your life becomes, because you're tending to it like a beautiful garden, the more can grow. And the more can grow, the more capacity you're going to have for more. But it's coming from, I have a foundation beneath my feet. That was something for me when I was, when I had a bigger business and I was living in Paris, and I was, far more expanded and probably freedom led than I am now. There was a lot of like, how would I describe it? There was a lot of movement. But I felt like the life I was building could just like sand, just disappear in my fingers. Like I couldn't fully hold on. Like the foundation wasn't very steady. And what I have found with people that tend to build that way, and there's again nothing wrong, we kind of have to learn this. I'm very rarely met someone who's like that, who actually has steady ground beneath them. They may appear to, but there's so much like shine and there's so much going on that you're so distracted that you're like, is this person actually standing on steady ground? They look really successful. They look like having a great life, and they are having a great life. and they're doing really great stuff in the world, but like, what are they standing? Where are their feet? What are they standing on? How solid are their actual relationships? What does their personal life really look like? And it's really made me so much more discerning when I think about like who I want to hire. Like at the moment, we're going through a process of hiring like doula support, whether that's, birth and pregnancy doulaing or postpartum. I'm kind of exploring all these options. And so I'm like hiring someone like a kind of a one-to-one support. And it's such a beautiful process to go through, because I know so many of you go through it with me of like deciding I'm your person. And then we go through the process of like the deep dive and then deciding to work together. And like, it is so beautiful to find someone where you're like, I want to work with you. You offer something and I want to go on a journey. So I'm going through this process right now, and it's so vulnerable to like choose and to really feel my desire of like, well, what do I want, and what kind of makes sense. And yeah, so I'm going through this at the moment, and I'm really paying attention to like the kind of life the person that I want to hire has. Like really noticing, and some of the things I'm looking for is like steady stewardship. Somebody that's like truly got their shit together. Like that's steadiness. Steady. That's what I want holding me, steadiness. And so yeah, like, and I think that's changed for me. I think in the past I was sort of seeking different things, but the last couple of years I've really craved that, and I have hired for that, and it has made such a difference because it's such a match for like where I'm at, right? The skills in myself that I want to cultivate. Like, I'm a really powerful manifester, and I have a very deep relationship to my desire. Like, that is something that I am always needing to have stoked. And I love being around women that, live in a really beautifully embodied and alive way. But I also want that paired with maturity, steadiness, financial prudence, feet on the ground, steady relationships, good family life, like truly takes care of them, not like really messy and chaotic. Like, I don't want that. I'm looking for someone that has both. That's who I want to learn from, because I want to cultivate more of that in my life, right? And so yeah, I think this is like, it's again like stewardship, just to kind of bring this all together. Like, it doesn't mean like staying somewhere in your life, and maybe you're listening to this and you're like, I can really feel like I need to move on with something. Like, perhaps you're like, okay, this place I'm in just doesn't feel like it works and belongs to me anymore. I want to move forward, right? It doesn't mean that, right? It doesn't mean tolerating a relationship or like a set of circumstances that just truly don't feel right. It doesn't mean suppressing ambition at all. Like, do you sense that I'm lacking ambition? Like, do I feel like in speaking about this, I don't have ambition? No, my ambition is there, but it's healthy ambition. Right? It's coming from within, of like a deep desire to serve, a deep desire to participate in my creations, my relationships, right? And it also certainly does not mean abandoning desire at all. Like, no, that would be a crime. We do not abandon desire in my world at all, right? But like, why I say that is sometimes good stewardship means that you can recognize this particular thing in my life needs to change. This particular thing in my life needs more investment. This particular thing needs less of me. This needs to end. This is something that I need to release. This needs help. I need guidance here. Like, that is stewardship. Like, you're not preserving everything indefinitely when nothing is changing and transforming. It's about being in an honest relationship with what you have chosen and what you're responsible for, right? So desire is still sitting with you at the table, right? It's just not sitting there alone. It's like with something else, right? And so, yeah, I mean, like, as I've been saying, like, as I'm moving through my pregnancy and we're kind of really thinking about like what life looks like when the baby comes, like, I'm a business owner. I am self-employed. I am like, okay, what do I need to put my attention on before the baby comes in order to have a maternity leave? What do I need to think about for when I return? What is impossible to think about because I'll be stewarding another life. Like, these are all questions. I'm not just sat, waiting for it to happen without being intimately connected to it, right? So I want to invite you now to think about this for yourself. So perhaps there's an invitation in all of this. Maybe you've already heard it in my episode today. Perhaps you've already heard the invitation, but I'm curious for you. Look at your life, right? Not the life you're trying to create, but the life that you already have. And ask yourself, maybe you can write these questions down. What have I already been given? What have I already created? And what did I once so desperately want that is now part of my ordinary life? Isn't that amazing? Like, there are things in your life that you desperately wanted. You have them now. That is amazing, right? What did I once desperately want that now I have as a part of my ordinary life? And then I want you to follow up with, well, how am I caring for it? How am I caring for the thing that I desperately wanted? Okay, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's your business, maybe it's your body, maybe it's your time, creativity. Like, it could really be anything, but really, what is it that you desperately wanted and you now have? And then you can ask, well, what would it look like to steward this beautifully? I did a note here. I did not say perfectly. I didn't say perfectly. I said beautifully. Beautifully. What needs my attention? What needs protecting? What needs nourishment? What needs structure? What needs repair? Okay. What simply just needs me to show up consistently to it? You don't necessarily need to overhaul anything, right? Maybe there's just one thing, and maybe there's one tiny act of stewardship that your life is just asking of you right now. Like, can you sit with what that might be? Okay. So, to close today, and we made it, guys. We made it. Woo! I need to go and jump in a bird bath. I keep coming back to this idea that we've sort of misunderstood abundance, and maybe abundance isn't about more, like more money, more this, more success, blah, blah, blah. Like, maybe it's something just so beautiful. Like, maybe it's just developing the capacity to care for what we have, like to enjoy it, to inhabit it, to protect it, to participate in it. Like, how beautiful, like to allow the things we once dreamed about to become rooted in your life, in the garden of your life. And maybe that's what happens for me, when I think about when desire grows up, is it just doesn't disappear, doesn't you don't become less alive. You don't stop wanting, it just lives alongside devotion and responsibility and wisdom and care, right? That is stewardship. And I think this is just so powerful. So if you've made it this far, thank you. And thank you so much for listening to the podcast. And as I say always, share this with a friend. Perhaps someone in your life really needs this. Please be generous. Be generous in sharing this. It really helps my work to grow, and this beautiful message to get out there. If those of you that are loving it, resonating it, you're my people, share it. That's really the best way for this to grow, really organically. So thank you. And at the moment, it's a bit of a special window in my work because I'm in an enrollment phase for my one-to-one containers. So over the next few weeks, I am enrolling for my final one-to-one containers before I take my maternity leave at the end of the year. So it's this really beautiful time of connecting with those of you that are sort of going to be part of this next cohort. And if you listen to today and you're just yes, this is resonating and you are ready for a journey together, you're ready for guidance, you're ready for coaching, you're ready to be loved on, cared for, expanded, you're ready to learn some of these skills. You're ready to trust yourself. You're ready to steward your life. And you feel like I'm the person. You're like, Liv's the girl for me. Like, I want that woman in my corner, on my team, walking alongside me. Then book a deep dive. Don't wait. There's 5 left. And this is a great moment. Like, if you're feeling it, don't wait. Like, don't wait another minute. Like, get in there. These deep dives are the first step on the journey together. This is where we do a 75-minute session. You participate in this, so you are invited to share exactly why now is a great time, why you're resonating, what it is that you want. Like, you bring as much as you can before we meet. And then with everything you bring, I design that session and I give you a beautiful map of like what I see and where you are. And then I will be very specific about how I would work with you, like what the next steps would look like. And it gives you this like beautiful recommendation of like, okay, this is what I could do. If I was going to do something, it would look like this. Okay. So these sessions are amazing. They are paid. So there's an investment. They're £111 for this session. And if you enroll in the container, the one-to-one container to work with me over a few month period, you get that deducted. So it's part of the package. So yeah, if you want more information on those, you can find them in the show notes or on my website. And you can also send me a message. But yeah, as I said, if you feel like this is a no-brainer, then dive right in, like book today, snag one of those spots, and you will receive my true undevoted attention at a really potent time. Like, this is a very potent time in my work. So I'm very, very excited to see like who's coming on this next phase. And I'm going to leave it there. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And we are on a roll with this Desire series. So I will be seeing you next week.